What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel and thank y'all for tuning in. As always, really appreciate you guys. We just had the second round of World Supercross from Vancouver, Canada fire off. And if I may say so myself, it was a pretty damn great night of racing on a treacherous glacial till national. We had Eli Tomac's first race and first win on a KTM as he went up against somebody that he's been racing since freaking Vietnam and Ken Roczen. We saw some signs of life of El Hombre on yellow. We had some great battles in both the 250 and the 450 classes. We had Max Anstie remaining perfect on the 250s, and we even had some beef brewing after some T-bone steaks being delivered. But before we get into all that fun stuff, got to give a huge thank you and a massive shout out to my channel sponsors. They help keep this channel going. ASV Inventions, home of the Unbreakable Lever, serious studio who can take care of all your merch needs, and then the designlabco.com. They got some great designs in their lab at their co, and if you guys buy from them, a small slice of the sale goes to me to help support the channel and keep us going. So if you support them, you are literally supporting me. And shout out to Simplify, a brand new sponsor of the channel. They're an automatic booking and payment system built for solo entrepreneurs. Whether you're a moto coach, trainer, or really any kind of business where you have clients booking you, Simplify will make your business way more efficient, way more profitable, and it'll make your life way the hell easier. Go to simplify.earth to sign up and use the code MAT9509 to save. I have all the rest of my links and discount codes in my video description, and I hope you guys enjoy today's video. Alright, first of all, as we always do, some thoughts on the track. Man, she was technical. We were in a big stadium in Vancouver. They used to have World Supercross rounds there back in like 2005 when RC was riding an RM250. Back when Suzukis weren't sold at Kmart. But yeah, same dirt I think. It's pretty rocky, pretty soft. It deteriorated like nobody's business, but a very technical track, tons of long rhythms, some gnarly rutted berms. You saw people turning down really low in them. I think our guy Cooper Webb really would have loved that, but the loops were super tough. They broke down a lot. We saw some people go into the jump line. Even Ken Roczen, who is typically like a loop god and always a skimmer. He's always one of the best guys, the most lethal guys in the loop section, and even he went to the jump. Of course, Justin Cooper went to the jump. It was in his contract, but we saw some people continue to smash through him. They were getting a little left-right swaps at the end, but I really did enjoy getting to see the options of both the skim and the jump. I don't really like it when it's just one way through all night, and you don't really see any separation or anything different, so I enjoyed that. I like the layout overall, though. There was even a wall jump into a rhythm section, and I really thought that was cool because you could either get on the brakes, stay low, and roll in, and then do the rest of the rhythm, or you could jump in, and it was right after a 90, so it was pretty cool to watch the guys like Tomac and Roczen, those top guys, hit the 90 standing up so they could use their legs and soak up that wall jump as they jumped into the rhythm, just to stay low and doing some really elite stuff, even compared to those guys that were in like 7, 8, 9 that were battling mid-pack. They're still amazing riders, but just those little things like that are oftentimes the difference between the top elite guys and the guys who are trying to be the top elite guys. And then real quick, before we get into some thoughts on the broadcast, this will lead us into some broadcast thoughts, but as far as the format for World Supercross goes, I feel like the races are a little bit too short, especially the first and the second one. Maybe it would be one thing if it was 8 minutes, but 8 laps, I mean, that one, they might as well be green, white checkers for how it feels. If I was a racer, I would love it. I'm sure Hombre and his thyroid are digging it, but as a fan, I just feel like there's not quite enough time for any really good battles or anything crazy to materialize. It seems like right when things get good, that's when the white and the checkers fly. And even the last main, 12 laps, it's a little bit better, but I feel like for, the whole main event, as far as it being like the big shebang at the end of the show, I feel like it should be a little bit longer than 12 laps because, that's maybe 10 minutes of racing. So I think the guys can be on the track a little bit more, but on the flip side of all those things I said, it's really good for TV. There's not a ton of downtime. It keeps things pretty exciting, and especially when you compare it to the Paris Supercross, which I was watching earlier today, there is tons of downtime. I feel like that event took 3 to 5 business days compared to World Supercross, where it was just bing, bang, boom, just race after race. I really like that. I'm sure it's tough for the riders because, they're kind of at back-to-back nationals, not a ton of time to rest and recoup, but they're the top guys in the world. I would say that's why they make the big bucks, but I heard the payout got slashed just a little bit, and I have no idea what the numbers are, but still, they're making money traveling the world. I'm sure probably not too bummed about it. At least I wouldn't be. But with the format being good for TV, that leads me into some thoughts about the broadcast. And unfortunately, I hate to lead like this because I don't really like to be negative, especially because I just like to watch more racing. I love the sport. And usually I don't really care who's calling it. But no offense, Ralph, WTF, bro. What is going on? Even in his peak, I feel like, he was kind of 50-50 on whether people liked him or not. But the dude is definitely not as sharp as he once was. I feel like he's all over the place. Just sometimes he's spewing out random stuff. And the thing that's really killing me is I feel like other people, Fro and DB, it seems like they can't even get a word in. Like, if DB opens his mouth, you can put like all your life savings on the fact that Ralph will interrupt him and say something. So that's one thing. And then maybe this is just Ralph doing Ralph things, but the storylines that they're talking about, like Tomac and Roczen going for a title, just doesn't make any sense when I'm hearing interviews about how Kenny's only signed up for 3 races. It's been well known that Tomac's only doing these 2 races, this Canadian GP and the Australian GP. Why we're talking about them going for an air quote championship, I have no idea, because they're clearly not if they're not racing the full series. And those of us that listen to all the podcasts and the midweek stuff and try to stay in the know, I feel like we know better, but it kind of seems like they're pretty much just lying to everybody else, trying to advertise it like those guys are going to be around all season. And then maybe when they get to Stockholm round 4, they're going to be like, oh yeah, we don't have those guys. Oh, I guess, I don't even know what they're going to do. I'm honestly at a loss for words for it, but I have no idea why they're acting like Tomac and Roczen are racing for a title. And then my last complaint, why can the cameras not follow a battle? Like, no offense, guys, but if I can do it with my iPhone, you guys can do it with professional TV cameras. I mean, we're out here watching the back half of the field on the start. We got great battles. 2 guys are going into a bull turn, just getting ready to annihilate each other, and they just cut to something else. And even, Ralph and Jeff are like, oh, did they make the move? Yeah, I guess we'll never know because they didn't show it. But that's not the commentator's fault. I feel like that's an issue of production, which I know nothing about. But what I do know is I didn't really love what I saw. So, the racing was good, don't get me wrong, and we're about to get into the results. But as far as the broadcast, I think it would be cool if they tightened it up a little bit because, yeah, I saw some sloppy stuff. But now we'll get into the fun stuff. We'll get into the results, and starting with the 450 class, with the win on the KTM, the first ride and the first win for Eli Tomac. And how about him on the podium? He was all hyped up. The fans were cheering for him. He gave a hilarious heck yeah, let's go. That was definitely what I like to see out of Tomac. Had a smile on his face. The dude looked super happy, super comfortable on the bike. Even the little press day video that my guy Daniel Blair sent me. I mean, it was like his second or third lap on the track, and the dude was already tossing oppos off the triple and a whip off the finish line. And being the king of the style and best whip and all that, I don't really feel like that's typically in ET's contract. So I figured that was a good sign, but he qualified fastest. I think he was fastest in the free practice. He just got edged out by J Coop and Superpole, but we all know how gnarly J Coop can be on one lap. There are definitely times where he qualifies fastest in Supercross, so he's definitely no slouch, but a 1-2-1 for ET. Kenny got him in that second race, and I like the fight that I saw out of him. He kind of started to reel Kenny in, and he got close, got to the back of him, and just couldn't quite do anything with him. But then that third main, I don't even know if he was scooping the Glacial Till or just running the AT82 or what he was doing, but fatty hole shot, just got off to the lead and never looked back. Kenny got to second reasonably early. He even closed the gap down a little bit, but just wasn't quite enough to reel in ET. And I gotta say, I feel like for being only like 2 weeks into this operation and only being his first race, switching to a steel frame after a whole career on aluminum, all those things being considered, I feel like he actually looks pretty damn close to Yamaha Eli. Obviously not identical, the bikes are quite a bit different, but you saw that head lean, that shoulder lean, you saw him turning down for who, what, when, where, and why. It looked like he could put the bike where he wanted, and even you heard him talking about in Main 2 how he was struggling with the whoops. Looked like the bike setup was a little bit off, but they went back, regrouped, and for Main 3, looked damn good through him. So all in all, pretty wild for Eli to come out and just stomp him and get a win in his debut. And it doesn't mean a ton. It's not the full field with the AMA and this and that. It's a different track build, but what I will say is definitely a good sign heading into 2026. Then in the second spot, Ken Roczen, and oh my gosh, this guy is a thing of beauty to watch early in the moto. Kids back at home, if you want a how-to on how to utilize the beginning of a moto to your advantage, just watch Ken Roczen in the first few laps, especially in Main 3. The dude can just see and feel a sense of urgency. When there is one, goes straight to the front. I heard them mention fast twitch, and I'll be damned if that's not what Kenny is, because it's just insane. His sprint speed, the moves he makes early, he just doesn't wait. He sees an opening, even if he doesn't see it, he finds one and makes one, and he just takes it. But awesome ride for Kenny to still get second. Just couldn't quite reel in Eli in that third main, but it's always fun to watch Kenny in these off-season races. I feel like he is a little bit better of a Kenny in these races than he is in the AMA series, where it's 17 rounds, he kind of gets worn down and this and that. But a second to his rival Tomac, by all means, not a bad night at all. Then rounding out the podium in the 3 spot was Jason Anderson. A great night for him. He's looking better and better on the Suzuki, and it's still early. He's still got about 2 months, maybe a little less before A1, so I'm sure that's the ultimate goal. He's trying to race himself into shape and make sure he's ready by then, but he ended up on the podium. I thought Jay Coop was on the podium, but unbeknownst to me, he got no points in the second main. I don't even know how that happened, but bravo to Ombre to get a third. Then the 4th spot, Christian Craig gets a 4th overall, and I'm pretty excited with how he's looking as well. We got a lot of new team switches heading into 2026, and Christian Craig to the Firepower, Quad Lock, whatever they're called, Honda team, is looking like one of the better moves for sure, because he was on a pretty gnarly downward spiral, wasn't looking good. I was almost wondering if he was going to throw in the towel, but he switched it up. He's riding red. He's getting ahead, and damn, he looks good on the Honda. But a 4th overall for him, and then his teammate Joey Savacci in the 5 spot. A bit of a quiet start to the season for him, and I expected a little bit more, being that he's kind of been in the mix as a championship contender in this series before, but he had a huge crash in Argentina with the Starks in the whoop section. I think he might have even got electrocuted, but maybe we're riding injured, just trying to salvage it. But a 5th overall for him, then a 6th overall for Justin Cooper, fastest in the Super Pole. He got himself a hole shot, but then kind of went backwards, and I think he was about the 3rd best guy on the night, but something must have went down in that second main to keep him from getting that overall. But either way, as a wild card, he got that stack just for showing up, so straight to the bank for Jay Coop, fly home on the private jet without a choice. But then we got 7th overall, Henry Miller, who was the Devin Simonson of this round. Awesome ride, the best of the rest, the next guy behind those elite guys. Then an 8th for Gregory Aranda, who's got to be bummed he's missing Paris Supercross, but nonetheless, a solid ride for him. A 9th for Politelli, continuing to put in the work and doing a great job, kind of revitalizing his career. He's in shape. He's got an MCR ride. He's taking it a lot more serious, and I think things are looking really good for Politelli. Then rounding out the top 10, the first Stark Varg and Jorge Zaragoza. And I kind of predicted that Zaragoza could be the top Stark Varg in this thing, but I really wasn't too sure how much I actually believed that. But Jorge gets himself a 10th on the Silent Machine, and a bit of a quiet ride, if I may say so myself. But then we had Justin Hill. He shadowboxed his way to an 11th. Then we had Vince Freezy in 12th. We haven't even had any Vincents so far in the series. And the most surprising part of the whole deal is that the dude actually pretty much pulled the whole shot in, I believe, the first main. And he wasn't really much of a factor. He went straight backwards. He really wasn't holding people up at all like he used to on the gas bike. And I kind of hypothesized that he would have trouble in the whoops, because the electric bikes and the whoops kind of go together like peanut butter and dog crap. But honestly, he didn't even get to the whoops. He'd gotten passed by tons of people before that point, and by the time they got to the whoops, I think the camera was focused on some people that were in the next lane. But not a good start to the season for Freezy. A 13th for Tixier, a 14th for Brees, and then rounding out the top 15. No idea what happened to my guy, but a rough night for Devin Simonson. But hopefully he caught a nice consolation prize at $10,000 as being the World Supercross Rider of the Round for round 1. I don't even know if the voting's done yet, but if it's not, go to FIMWSX on Instagram and vote for Devin Simonson, because yeah, who doesn't want 10 grand? But that was the 450 class. Then for the 250s, a 1-1-1 and another perfect weekend for Max Anstie. And honestly, there's not really a whole lot to say about the guy. He's the best rider in the class. He's got the best bike in the class. He's got the most experience in the class. And with all those things being said, it is kind of making sense that he's doing what he's doing. At this point, I'm kind of thinking that the only storyline in the 250 class as far as the wins go is going to be whether Max can actually pull off a perfect season or not. But whether he does that or whether he doesn't, I think the title is looking like pretty much a foregone conclusion, barring a disaster. Then in second, Cody Schock, a great ride. I believe a 2-2-2, runner-up, bridesmaid all night. And I know they're riding for Arby's. I know they got the meats. I know what he was going for here, but he about made me spit out the drink. I wasn't even drinking when he said something about the meat rocket on the podium. Even Kristen Beat was taken aback a little bit, or maybe she liked it. I don't know. But a great ride for Cody Schock and his teammate Enzo Lopes. 2-3, rounding out the podium for the Rick Ware, Club MX, Arby's hybrid combo team. But a solid bounce back for Enzo. He wasn't quite on the podium in the South American round. I'm sure everybody was dying to say Vamos Enzo on the podium. and they didn't get to, but they got to this time. So a great ride for Enzo Lopes in third. Then a fourth for Cullen Park, and how awesome was the Cullen Park versus Cole Thompson beef? That was the battle that I didn't even know I needed. And it didn't even last for one main. You know, they duked it out in the first one, smashed each other, had some words afterwards, invited each other to dinner. Apparently there was even some sight lap roosting. Then they went back at it for the majority of the second main. Those guys probably weren't even racing. They're probably just out there trying to pull a full-blown demolition derby on each other. I kind of know how it goes from local arena crash rivals without choice, but Park, it buffed out, managed to shake Thompson and got the better of him, got a fourth overall. An awesome night for Kyle Peters, gets himself in the top 5 for Bud Racing Kawasaki, and I feel like he got better and better as the night went on. His starts were pretty good. He found himself up front more often than not, and by the time that last main came around, the longest main, he hung in there way better than he did in the short ones. Really looked like he belonged in that lead pack and got himself a top 5 overall. Then we kind of touched on it, 6th overall for Thompson. He was way better in those first 2 mains, had a lot more fire in him. I don't know if he used up all his anger and piss and vinegar on Cullen Park in those first 2 mains, but a little bit of a lackluster third main, gets him 6th overall. Then a 7th for Michael Hicks, first e-bike in the SX2 250 class. We'll see if he exceeded the KJ, kilojoules, or whatever they're called, like he did in Argentina, but I don't foresee it. I think Stark just made a little mistake, a miscalculation at the National. They barely exceeded their tolerance, but yeah, it looks like Michael Hicks will pick up a 7th. And then a massive bummer, 8th overall for Shane McElrath. And this day seemed to be pretty much a disaster from the get-go. He was having trouble with his main bike. He had to race his spare bike. Apparently the spare bike was only a stock bike. Then that bike had issues, had to get back on the main bike. And let me tell you guys, going out on a supercross track and you don't know if your bike's going to run right, it's got to be probably the most scary thing on planet Earth. I mean, I was living in California, riding supercross every day, and I had to deal with that issue every day just for the main fact that I was the one working on my bike, so that thing could go at any moment. But at least Shane, he salvaged an 8th. I mean, he's a class act. He even gave an interview praising the team, even in the bad times, but that 8th right there. Championship's gone, which is a huge bummer because he's carrying the number 1 plate. But then a 9th for Robbie Wageman. He's doing a hybrid Arena Cross World Supercross Tour. And then rounding out the top 10, a 10th for Maxime Dupre, 11th for Lance Kobush, the other Stark Varg. Shout out to Wilson Todd in 12th. He was a fill-in for Anthony Bourdon, who's racing Paris. 13th for Chiz, who did not chiz. He was off the side of the track down and looked to not be feeling too good. And with all due respect, Chiz, you got to know when to call it, brother. I thought you already did call it in Vegas, even after you got hurt. I get it. I used to love racing too, but you had a good career, man. Go hang out with the family and be safe, because I hate to see that. And then last but not least, in the 250 class, I have no info on him except for that he was in his home country. 14th for Noah Viney, and that is all I've got for you guys from round 2 of World Supercross in Canada. As always, let me know if you liked the video, if you hated it, if you thought it was horrible, if you agree with my takes, if you disagree, if you just want to complain about something, or if you just want to hate in general. We're here for every bit of it. But yeah, thank you guys again for watching. I really appreciate it. I think it's a 1-week break, and then the series picks back up for round 3 in Gold Coast, Australia. And I won't be there. It's pretty far away, but we will be here for a preview and a review. But yeah, I think I've said it like 6 or 9 times already. Thank you guys again. Catch y'all next time.